Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvajakacharya Astar Sata His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 5, Text 2. Yad Rupam Yad Adishtanam Yata Shristam Idam Prabhu Yat Samstam Yat Param Yachcha Tat Tatvam Vada Tatvataha Yad Rupam Yad Adishtanam Yatasristam Idam Prabhu Yat Samstam Yat Param Yatscha Tat Tatvam Vada Tatvataha Yad Rupam Yad Adishtanam Yata Shristam Idam Prabhu Yat Samstam Yat Param Yatscha Tat Tatvam Vada Tatvataha Yad Rupam Yad Adishtanam Yata Shristam Idam Prabhu Yat Samstam Yat Param Yatscha Tat Tatvam Vada Tatvataha Yadishtanam Yata Sristam Idam Prabhu Tat Tatvam Vada Tatvataha Yad Rupam Yadishtanam Atatintam Prabhu Tat Tatvam Vada Tatvataha Yad Rupam Yadishtanam Yata Sristam Idam Prabhu Yatam Chacha Tat Tatvam Vada Tatvataha. Vaishnavis. Yad Rupam Yad Adishtanam Yata Sristam Idam Prabhu Yat Samstam Yat Param Yatscha Tat Tatvat Tatvataha Rupam Yad Adishtanam Yata Sristam Idam Prabhu yachta tatatvam vadatattvataha rupam yadadishtanam yata sristam idam prabhu yat samstam yat param yachta from yat yad rupam yadadishtanam yata sristam idam prabhu yat samstam yat param yachta tatatvam vadatattvataha. Yet, what? Rupam, the symptoms of manifestation. Yet, what? Adishtanam, background. Yataha, from where? Shrishtam, created. Idam, this world. Prabhu, O my Father, yet in which samstam, conserved, yet what? Param, under control, yet what are? Cha, and tat, of this. Tattvam, the symptoms. Vada, please describe. Tattvataha, factually. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation: My dear Father, please describe factually the symptoms of this manifest world. What is its background? How is it created? How is it conserved? And under whose control is all this being done? Purport. The inquiries by Narada Muni on the basis of factual cause and effect appear very reasonable. The atheists, however, put forward many self-made theories without any touch of cause and effect. The manifested world, as well as the spirit soul, is still unexplained by the godless atheists through the medium of experimental knowledge, although they have put forward many theories manufactured by their fertile brains. Contrary to such mental speculative theories of creation, however, Narada Muni wanted to know all the facts of creation in truth, and not by theories. Transcendental knowledge regarding the soul and the supersoul includes knowledge of the phenomenal world and the basis of its creation. In the phenomenal world, three things are factually observed by any intelligent man: the living beings, the manifest world, and the ultimate control over them. The intelligent man can see that neither the living entity nor the phenomenal world are creations of chance. The symmetry of creation and its regulative actions and reactions suggest the plan of an intelligent brain behind them. And by genuine inquiry, one may find out the ultimate cause with the help who knows them factually. Om Jnanatimrandasya Gadanjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, In the verse and the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions creation, created, mentions the word creation several times in the purport. So, we are creationists. In the world of science today, that's considered like a curse word, to be called a creationist. Means something bad to them. Means sometimes they'd call me a creationist. But I accept the designation because that's what the Srimad Bhagavatam says. Sometimes they would call me a Vedic creationist. Or, there was one scientist who reviewed our book, Forbidden Archaeology, in one scientific journal. But he was actually respectful. He said, this book represents something perhaps not seen before. We can fairly call it Krishna creationism with no disrespect intended. So I accept that label. I'm a Krishna creationist because that's what's actually being stated here. This world has a cause. And that cause is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who we know by the name Krishna. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. So, the Supreme Controller is Krishna. That's who the Ishvara, or controller, is, according to the Brahma Samhita. Ishvara Parama Krishna. So, Srila Prabhupada is making the point here that everything material or spiritual has a cause. So he's several times saying in the purport, the inquiries by Narada Muni on the basis of factual cause and effect. He's always mentioning not just the effects, which is what the scientists many times are simply talking about. They see the effect. They see the phenomenal world, but they don't know the actual cause. Sometimes they say there is no cause. It's like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Asatyam apratishtam te jagat ahur anishvaram. So they say that. The world is without any cause. There's no Ishvara. There's no... No, there is a cause. Of course, sometimes they say, if you bring up to them, yes, there is a cause, God. And then they say, but who caused God? They think they've got you. But in the Brahma Samhita verse, it says, Anadir, Krishna is the cause of all causes, Sarva Karana Karanam. But if you want to say, well then, who's his cause? Who is before Krishna? That verse also answers it. Although Krishna is Adi, he's the origin of everything, he's Anadi. He's got no origin. So that's where it stops. The buck stops there with Krishna. So, Srila Prabhupada is pointing out here, they have no explanation for the cause of the whole materially manifest cosmos. Neither do they have an explanation for the existence of consciousness, which is a symptom of the soul. after so many theories, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning, they still don't have these facts. And that's because they rely simply on the experimental path of knowledge. And that experimental path of knowledge is based on sense perception and logic. But all of the senses are limited and imperfect. And the mind that we use for logic can make mistakes, become illusioned, cheat, or become the victim of cheating. It happens all the time. So you can never ultimately get at the absolute truth by that method. Maybe it's possible, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, if you actually do it in the proper way, which Srila Prabhupada mentions here. He says at the end of the purport, he says, the symmetry of creation and its regulative actions and reactions suggests the plan of an intelligent brain behind them. And by genuine inquiry, one may find out the ultimate cause with the help of one who knows them factually. So one who knows the symmetry of creation and its regulative actions and reactions. If you know them properly, if you actually were able to study them without any bias or prejudice, then eventually you'd be led to the idea there's some intelligent brain behind this. It's like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam janmanam ante, gyanavan mam prapadyante, Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sadurlabhaha. Means after many, many births, the Jnani, someone who's just trying to figure it all out. After many, many births, they may come to the position of understanding there is Vasudeva, some intelligence behind it. But and Krishna says such a soul is very rare that can do it like that. So we just take the shortcut, the descending path of knowledge. We just accept the fact that with our own limited minds and intelligence and limited and imperfect senses, we're never really going to figure it out. So better just accept there is a supreme intelligence, a supreme conscious being who is the source of everything. Like Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo, matas sarvam pavartate. Everything is coming from me. And he's also capable of giving knowledge about how he does that to us, as much as we're capable of understanding. So Krishna gives that knowledge in Srimad Bhagavatam, the other Vedic literatures, of which the Srimad Bhagavatam is the essence. So we take that, and in that way, as we're going to see, Narada Muni is putting these questions, and he's going to get the answers. So I'll stop there. Any?
How would you respond to this question if it's coming from somebody who is, educated, at least superficially appearing non-envious? They say, well, okay, so how is your process for acquiring knowledge any different from blind faith? You're just accepting all these things as axiomatic truths, that Krishna is the origin of everything and all these facts and figures and details. How is it any different from just having blind faith?
Because, like Srila Prabhupada says here, the symmetry of creation and its regulative actions and reactions suggests the plan of an intelligent brain behind them, and by genuine inquiry, one may find out the ultimate cause. So, that means if you look very, very carefully, you'll see that today the material scientists and philosophers and others, they haven't really given the actual cause, ultimate cause of all causes. And they'll admit that. If you look in the scientific literature, you'll see they'll admit the origin of life is currently unexplained. It's an unexplained topic in biology. That's just a fact. Nobody has any explanation for it. So, why then rule out the possibility that there might be some intelligence behind the whole thing? The origin of consciousness. No one has explained the origin of consciousness from brain chemistry. They may say we're working on it. They may say that's what we think is the answer, but they haven't really done it. So it's possible on a certain level to say, if you really look at things, you'll see you're not going to get very far like that. So there may be other ways of getting this knowledge, and for your consideration, my dear intelligent human being, here's a possible source, the Bhagavad Gita, something like that. I think that's what Srila Prabhupada intended Bhaktivedanta Institute to do, present things like that. So, something else? Yes?
I participate in an online discussion. It's a place called Quora. Anybody's free to join. And this comes up frequently, and like you said, they say, well, who caused God? So then you have to introduce the concept of eternality. That life is eternal, and there's a supreme living being who is also eternal. And then you have to explain to them what eternality means. Always existed in the past, existing now, and will always exist in the future. And whenever I interject that, they can't say no. How can you say no to that? No, there's nothing eternal. Then you have to explain, ultimately, where everything is caused from. You can't have an unlimited regression of cause and effect, as is being mentioned in today's verse, cause and effect. You can't have an unlimited regression of cause and effect. There has to be an original cause. You can't just keep going back, this was caused by that, it was caused by that, back, ad infinitum. It can't work. It doesn't work mathematically or any other way. There has to be an original source of everything. And for that original source to be original, it has to be eternal. It has to always have existed. Otherwise, again, it wouldn't make sense. Who caused that and who caused that? So an intelligent person, as is being discussed today, has to accept an original, irreducible cause of everything. Now, you have to discuss, is it material or spiritual? But you have to accept that concept of an irreducible cause of everything. Nothing can go beyond that.
Yes, that's true. But even Krishna can't convince everybody. Yeah, everybody has their free will. I mean, out of our mercy, we may give them that chance. I mean, we distribute the holy name, Bhagavad Gita. We give people the opportunity to directly come to the proper conclusion. But if they got some intellectual doubts, out of mercy and compassion, we'll try to explain to them. But ultimately, everyone has their freedom, and they have to live with the result of the choices they make. Svavas.
How is it that they can't really understand that everything in this material world has a creation to it? In other words, you have a father, I have a father, mother. I mean, just taking the basic principle of that, and you go down the line, everybody has come from some living entity, those of us that are living. You know, and then also, how can they not understand that if you take some rock, and that rock can be there for 1 billion years, but nothing ever living comes out of it? I mean, what is so difficult about just to understand that basic little principle?
Causeless unwillingness to do so.
Okay, so that's the answer, you're right. But it's phenomenal to me how someone with a scientific brain, someone who's intellectual, who's, so much education, that they can't accept a simple fact that life comes from life.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, isn't it?
It's bewildering. And they've never seen anything in this lifetime come out of a rock. Even 1,000 years ago, if it did, somebody would have told us that they saw some manifestation out of a rock.
Yes.
So, just on that principle itself, and then, you take a look at the sun, the symmetry of the sun is such that it comes up, you can, put your clock to it, and you can tell exactly when it's going to set, when it's going to rise. There's so many phenomenons in the material world that just scream personality, control. And I just get so, frustrated that someone can't accept that little simple, stupid little thing. That was just a comment.
Out of Lord Chaitanya's mercy, he flooded the world with prema bhakti. But unfortunately, some people were still running away. Krishnadas Kaviraj explains in Chaitanya Charitamrita, although Lord Chaitanya unleashed a flood of mercy that drowned the whole world, 2 categories of people ran away, wouldn't be caught in his net of bhakti. And those were the impersonalists, Srila Prabhupada said, and the Paduya Adamas, the lowest of the student class, by which he meant, the so-called philosophers, academics, and others, to catch them, he would sometimes discuss philosophy with them, try to convince them. Mostly he was performing Sankirtan, chanting the holy names of the Lord, teachings of the Gita and the Bhagavatam, prasadam, festivals, Ratha Yatras. But, for this other category, he would, sometimes sit with a Mayavadi impersonalist philosopher and discuss with them, or with the Buddhists, or with others of that category. But still, some may escape. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.